My fellow sheep, election season is upon us. Are you one of the 12% of Americans who still approves of our government? Then we need your help to force the other 88% into compliance. Our democracy depends on it. We're an organization called Citizens Against Too Much Unfettered Freedom, or CATMUF. CATMUF is a bipartisan flock of sheep whose goal is expanding government until nothing else remains. Because the government is here to help you. How can you help CATMUF help you? By only voting for candidates dedicated to expanding government. It's easy. You don't need to study the issues. No matter what a politician says when running for office, they're all dedicated to expanding government. And make sure you tell all your friends and family to vote for more government. Here at CATMUF, we don't care if you vote Democrat or Republican, as long as you vote for candidates committed to growing our federal family. CATMUF, because folks just aren't smart enough to handle real freedom.
It also taught
every Pitfall I've played, I've enjoyed.
It also began my understanding of the value of things and why it wasn't a good idea to launch my controller every single time I got mad at it.
Yes, yes, something that I had to be a little bit older to learn, but still very, very excellent lesson in economics and and subjective value of things.
Yes.
Seeds of liberty. 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 Seeds of liberty.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 122nd episode of the Seeds of Liberty podcast. As always, we are covered by a BIPCOT no government license. This allows reuse by anyone except governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org. So,
especially you, Liechtenstein. Anyway.
Yeah.
Them lichens. So we're back. I'm Jeremy, joined as always by Dave and Andre. We took the week. What's up, guys? We took the week off again last week. We've been doing that a lot lately, but life's starting to get in the way. These
life
things happen.
certainly does.
It
Life
certainly
has a way of
is.
making that happen.
So, but we
Kids, job changes. It's been rough.
Yeah, man. Career job changes, like talk about job, career changing things, like life changing.
Yeah.
All three of us have essentially gone through pretty life changing with our paths in the past
absolutely.
6 months. The past 6 months to a year or so. So it's finally catching up with us, but we're here.
The fact that we've been able to keep this train a-going is pretty miraculous. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. I am. That's an.
I actually appreciate your guys' dedication.
We have yet to pod fade, despite any of the troubles we've run into. So go us.
Yeah, the rumors of our demise are greatly exaggerated.
Exactly. So we were having a rousing discussion before the show, and that'll probably end up on some Patreon episode once I'm finally done with my business here in the next month or so. But we actually did have something planned out this week, and it's not liberty-minded per se, but we're going to find a way to make it so. But it's a conversation we've had briefly on the show a couple of times, and it's something that is kind of near and dear to all three of our hearts, and I know a lot of the other libertarian nerds out there like us, it is as well, and that would be the enjoyment of the old video games. And we were talking about it after the last show we did, and we just decided, you know what, we might as well just do a show on that because all three of us have played our fill, and why the heck not? So. I mean, we got into this conversation, the whole conversation about it, because I had just finished replaying, since I'm an old fogey and I still have a PS3 and I like to play old games instead of buying new ones. I just finished playing Final Fantasy VIII for the first time, which was a lot of fun. That and a couple other games came recommended by both of you guys, and I finally got around to playing it, and that's what sparked this whole conversation.
There's rarely you're not gonna play a bad Final Fantasy. I mean, they have their ups and downs?
Not
but
really true.
Yeah, the X ones or whatever they called them.
Enjoy
the ones with lightning.
Now the online, the MMO ones, I don't know about those. I'm talking about the console ones, majoritively.
That's true up until Final Fantasy IX. Now I take exception to Final
10 was
Fantasy
fun.
10. Are you high?
wasn't
10
bad.
was
Seriously, are you
10
high?
was fun. I didn't mind 10 so
What
much.
the hell is wrong with both of you?
It was
9 was way better than 10. I'll agree.
Oh no, 7 through I haven't even played 9 yet, and I'll say that 7 through 9 are definitely worlds above pretty much anything else in the series. I
10
think.
was playable though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was entertaining, you know, and it was probably just for me it was like a residual. I love this series so much, I have to give this a shot type of thing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, you're playing it with Rose, Rose tinted.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put it up there with like in the pantheon of games or anything.
So if we're talking about video games, we also have to talk about obviously the first video game or what really sucked you into the game world. For me, it was probably Super Mario World 3.
Super Mario 3, you
For
said?
the NES. For the NES, yeah, probably.
Yeah, see, that was one of the ones I played the least. I think I was much more into 1 and 2, and then yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm older.
I
than
liked
you guys.
being able to skip levels with that flute.
Yeah, there was cool stuff about it. Definitely. I obviously started a little bit before you guys. You know, my first.
Well, I know you're like 72. No,
Yeah.
wait, you're 62. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. So you know, my first console that I owned was the Atari. Not the big 52, the 2600, because my parents were
You
cheap.
and the boys used to get in the back with some jacks and some bouncing balls.
playing some pong and stuff. You know, old school.
Yeah. All right. Fucking Space Invaders, man.
Yeah.
That's the shit.
Hey man,
Well,
that
no,
now,
well, I mean, you're talking to the first one since mine was all the way back then. I think the first game I fell in love with was playing it on the Atari was Pitfall.
Pitfall on the Atari is actually fun.
It drove me insane, but it taught me my perseverance for sticking games out despite how many times I die. It also taught me
Every Pitfall I've played, I've enjoyed.
It also began my understanding of the value of things and why it wasn't a good idea to launch my controller every single time I got mad at it.
Yes. Yes. Something that I had to be a little bit older to learn, but still very, very excellent lesson in economics and and subjective value of things.
Yes. Well, see, I learned
Supply and demand as well.
I had to learn it twice because the first couple of times I got away with it because my parents didn't notice that I had thrown the controller, and I just blamed it on, I don't know what happened, Ma. It just stopped working. Can you buy me another one? So I got away with that the first couple of times. Like the third or fourth time they caught on, and then it was you break it again, and you're either not buying, we're not buying you another one, and you got to pay for it out of your allowance or whatever.
Yeah.
After that, I finally learned, okay, I got to be a little more careful. And then when I got older and got my first job at 14 and started going to buy my own stuff. Unfortunately, I had to learn that lesson all over again because I was like, the first time it happened, I was like, oh, I don't care. I don't have to worry about them anymore. I'll just buy it myself. And then when I realized how expensive it was to go keep replacing these stupid things, I learned it all over again.
I think I've broken numerous. At one point in my life, I strived to be a Counter-Strike pro. I was very close. It was like college or Counter-Strike pro. Okay. And I don't know how many keyboards I've broken, but I would say it's probably a dozen or around it. Headsets, there's no telling, at least 20.
Jesus.
You get mad at yourself at that level of play, and you have to take that internal frustration out on something.
I feel like such an amateur by comparison because I've only ever broken one. What was it? I broke one N64 controller, and that was it.
Oh,
that was it. That was enough. That was enough for me.
Yeah,
that was enough for me.
I've broken so many controllers.
Well, listen, I've said for the longest time on the show that the reason I got to liberty through history because economics wasn't my strong point. This is a very good example of that. It took me a lot longer to learn that the first couple times around.
Time preference is a hard concept sometimes to get, and that delayment of
Well,
that quick.
Yeah,
that quick fix.
I was going to say, in a sense, it is a delay of gratification situation, essentially, because that anger release is a gratifying thing in that moment, and
it certainly is.
Yeah, and it's funny because
it's like breaking the TV when your football team loses or whatever. It's like, it felt great.
Yeah, that's funny because as a hardcore of a sports ball fan as I was for most of my life, and as crazy as I got about the games, that never happened. It was because the thing you said about being up at that certain level of gameplay, like you're that hard, you're really hard on yourself. All the times that I got
money, potential professional, contracts, all this is on the line, and you're like, this is what I want to do with my life.
I totally understand that, but what I was going to say is that even without that, the reason I got angry all those times, like I blame the game usually, but it was my fault. So I was angry.
Of course.
So I don't even think it necessarily takes that level. I mean, obviously it was ratcheted up for you because of all those extra incentives that you were looking at. But even absent those, myself, for example, I had that same inner rage, and I was just like, I have to do something something must die right now besides me, because whatever game I was playing, my character was usually laying out somehow. At that point.
I realized I had a problem when I was like, I couldn't practice. In Counter-Strike, you have to set up basically scrimmages constantly to practice your different strategies, and you're trying to set them up against people of your level of play. And so I got so mad at one point at one of my fellow teammates who really botched a game. I broke my keyboard and my headset, and at the time I was so broke I didn't even barely have enough money to feed myself. I was in college. I was like, yeah, I've got a problem here. I need to stop breaking everything. I've got to, maybe I need to stop playing this game. And then I basically did stop playing the game.
I've never really been into multiplayer games like Counter-Strike. I mean, I've played.
If I can't talk trash, I don't want to play,
See, that's the thing. I much prefer single player games, and I'll explain to you why. The one that I did get into, though, multiplayer wise, was Battlefield 4. And oh my God, I have never experienced rage the way that I've experienced rage playing online in Battlefield 4. Oh my God. It's fucking incredible. It's like, because, I mean, I'm a casual player. Number one, I'm not very good at the game to begin with. So, like, I'm already at a disadvantage. I'm not very good. Number two.
Well, those guys were at the house practicing the game. You were in the army. It's like
doing things other than playing. Yeah, I totally.
You were living the Call of Duty.
Well, see here. Well, here's the thing. Well, okay. If I hadn't had a family, if I'd have been single, I probably could have devoted more time and actually got good at it. But no. But it's like they had an instinct, like a sense of who the really shit players were, and they would find me constantly. Mm-hmm. They would find me specifically. And it was always like the same three dudes. It was always the same
if
three
you're out
motherfuckers.
picking chickens to ring the necks, you're not gonna be
motherfucker. Fucking cocksuckers, man. Cocksuckers.
Yeah, see, I never got into those games either. And mainly because I was never very good at them. Like I think the most I ever spent on any game that involved playing like with other people was oh gosh, now I don't even remember what it was. Maybe it was one of the online things for the Assassin's Creed where I think that had to have been it. It's been so long.
So what's your favorite genres, guy? Yours is obviously RPGs, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I've probably played more Final Fantasy.
Probably like one of my favorites
than any other game. What about you, Andre?
Just one where you can zone out and just kind of, I don't know, get your mind off of something for a little while, play, go through and see like all these crazy lands and landscapes that they come up with. It's really wild.
Yeah, and see, I'm a big fan of RPG specifically. I really enjoy, and I mean it can either be like classic RPGs like Final Fantasy, or more modern sort of genre blending RPGs like Fallout 4, for example. Mm-hmm. Or the Mass Effect series. I mean, I'm absolutely huge fan of the Mass Effect series. I think
they ruined it with this last one, I heard.
No, they didn't. That requires some unboxing. And actually, if you guys don't mind, I'll actually explain to you why I don't think Mass Effect was ruined by Andromeda.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I
The
heard
series-
it was just a bunch of SJW stuff pushed through.
No,
Agenda
no,
stuff.
not really. It really wasn't. They made a huge deal about it because like some of the female characters were uglier post release as opposed to the alpha build. Because like they released video snippets at I think E3 from the alpha build of the game, which ended up somehow for whatever reason I couldn't tell you why,
Looking
but it
worse.
has to do with their development problems that they had on the game. It ended up looking worse post-release than it did in the alpha build. And I mean, there's a whole can of worms to go in there. And technically, the game, I mean, like in terms of the game as a product, like a technical product, it had tons of issues, and a lot of that had to do with the rush development schedule and development problems. The game itself, though, I think the narrative of the game was not bad, and I think it kept that same spirit of Mass Effect. I thought it was if you could get past the technical problems, like for example the motion tracking with the eyes, the various facial animation issues they had, some of the lighting problems, some of the if you look up, you can find video clips of severe clipping issues with character models, and like
I'm a big
in dialogue scenes, you'll see one character sort of like slowly kind of subsuming into the floor or the wall, and like one arm clipping through the body in like a slow progression. It's weird. Like there are technical problems.
As long as the game's not so buggy, I can't finish it or whatever. I don't mind.
Yeah, and see that's the thing. There were no game breaking bugs. It wasn't like, oh, you accidentally got stuck in a wall and then that was it, done. Like there were no game breaking bugs. It was never anything that bad. It was just like
I've
stuff
played
that
some
really
games where-
detracted from immersion. Oh yeah, so have I. Trust me.
Where if you don't know the developer like cheat codes to put in, good luck beating it.
Yeah. You need fucking no clip to get through the wall because otherwise you're stuck there, boss. But no, it was never anything that bad. It was never anything so horrible that you couldn't play the game. And once you actually played the game,
It wasn't Superman
dialogue.
64 bad.
Oh God, no! Fuck, that game was awful. Why would you say that? Why would you bring that up? Why?
Mario 64, one of the greatest games of all time. Superman 64, one of the worst games of all time. I don't know how they did that. I don't know why.
One of the worst games in gaming history. It's that bad.
It's unplayable.
It is. It really is. That's what it comes down to. But no,
thankfully I missed that one. I never had. Was that for the N64?
Yeah,
I guess
no,
I never
God,
had that.
thank God you did. You missed nothing. You have time in your life that you could devote to other things. Everybody who played Superman 64 lost that time. That's time they'll never get back.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. We actually burned the cartridge.
Wow.
I
We had
threw
it-
it in the trash.
I think
It's
it was
the
in a
only
red
video game I've ever
cartridge as
thrown in
well.
the trash.
Oh.
Yes, it was. It was a red cartridge. It's the only game I've ever thrown in the trash.
Just, you know what? I'm never going to play this.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I played it for I think
I'm
like
not-
Its replay
couldn't
value is
have even been
literally
30
less than
minutes.
0.
So what's
Yeah.
what's your guys' favorite console or platform or whatever to play video games on? Like, mine's still Super Nintendo. I don't know.
Ooh, that's a tough question. That is a really tough question because since N64, which was my favorite, I mean, since N64, some really, really great console games have come out. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't. But like, it's either gonna be like the PS3 or the Xbox One. Like I don't know. Between the two of them, I can't. I don't
See,
know.
the PlayStation has probably the best. The PlayStation 2 probably has the best set of games that you could play. Like if
Yes,
you had to
I
pick
agree with
one,
that.
and if you picked that, it came with every game in its library. That would be the one to pick, in my opinion, because there, especially if you're an RPG fan. And I was talking to Jeremy; he hasn't played Chrono Cross yet or Chrono Trigger.
Ooh,
Which-
you're missing out, dude. You are missing out.
because well, that was,
Chrono Cross is probably it's like Final Fantasy VII is like probably the best game on PlayStation, and Chrono Cross is like right behind. It's probably number 2. It's really good.
Yeah, see, my like I get so wrapped up in different like the Final Fantasy series because I kept playing them even as they got progressively worse for a while because it was just like that comfort thing that I was like, all right, at least I know how to do most of this stuff. Because before that, I mean, I was before I stumbled onto Final Fantasy VII. And then almost dropped out of college because of it. I was
God, do I feel like a baby now?
I was bigger into sports. Yeah, I know, right? I was bigger into sports games. Like that was usually my thing. Like even before, like
we used to play
before.
Madden and NFL Blitz and all that.
Yeah, but I'm talking like I'm
MLB games.
Yeah, but I'm obviously talking like before that, like the original Tecmo Bowl. Like that was the shit. That was like the shit for me and my friends back in the day, and like we had it like
what was the robot baseball game? We used to play the crap out of that one.
Yeah, that one was cool, but I think I might have mentioned this sometime recently. But there was one game for the regular Nintendo, for the NES, that was the first. I believe it was the first game that tried to do like the you get to play general manager owner as well as playing the game, but it wasn't licensed by the MLB or anything, so it was all fake teams and stuff like that, but it was called Baseball Stars, and that game kicked fucking ass. I spent so many hours playing on that game because you could literally build your team from essentially scratch. Like you could create people, and you were given a certain allotment of points. Like this was one of the very first games
at that level of console.
Yeah, at the NES, it was towards maybe a year or two before the Super Nintendo finally came out. But I remember that
NBA Jams is what changed the game. Then.
Well, yeah, but again, NBA Jams, I was playing that in the arcades first. Like
that's what I'm saying. That changed the game. I remember that.
Yeah, man.
We had a skate in Rican Town.
We used to play that at the ski resort that my dad was one of the ski police people there, and so that meant me and my friends got to get in free, and we used to just hang out. We weren't skiing, we were hanging out and playing video games, and yeah, I remember that being in there. But yeah, Baseball Stars was the first for me, and like I got so into that game, I spent so many hours that I would just play that. When the original Tecmo came out, like I could play season after season after season of that game, just trying because like I think it was the original. Was it the original one, or might have been the second iteration of it? Whichever one had the Kansas City Chiefs back in the day of Christian Okoye. They made him like the most monstrous running back that game has ever. Like you could literally just run over half the defense, and he was fat. Like he wasn't that fast.
Yeah.
Christian Okoye was good in his in that couple of years that he was big for Kansas City, but he wasn't that fucking good. They made him like superhuman, and like I remember getting the kickoffs and purposely running myself out of bounds on the 1 yard line so I could go for
the 90. There was an Emmitt Smith game like that.
So I could go for the 99-yard run on the first play, so I could see how many yards a game I could rack up with Christian Okoye. Like absolutely no passing yards, run the entire game. But yeah, that's what I
halfback toss every play.
Yep. And you had to switch it up because even on the lowest, even if you're playing on like the lowest level or whatever, the AI will pick up eventually that you're running the same play every time. But yeah, I mean, besides like Legend of Zelda, I think I was like mostly.
I think I've played most of the memorable Zeldas. I think I've beaten them. They're amazing.
Yeah,
they really are. It was a really
Metal
great
Gear
series
Solid.
Of games.
Metal Gear Solid and Zelda
Metal Gear
are
Solid. Fuck yeah.
And Mario are why I'm a video game nerd.
That's a lot of where I started. And I mean, I absolutely love Metal Gear Solid. I think it was
Metal Gear Solid like changed the way I thought about the world, man.
I never played that one either.
For me, it changed how I felt about video games. Because prior to that, I played Mario 64 or whatever, and they're entertaining. They are fun. They're very engaging, but they're not storytelling. Like prior to that, I got the impression out of video games, and I really think that this was the case, and it wasn't just me. Storytelling and building a coherent story arc was more of like a secondary consideration, whereas for Metal Gear Solid,
gameplay was the
for Metal Gear Solid, the primary focus Kojima's primary focus was telling a story, and it's been that way for the entire Metal Gear series, even way back to Metal Gear.
It makes me sad that I can't sit down and play all the new ones because I don't even care if they're bad. I love Metal Gear Solid.
Never played a single one.
Oh,
my
dude, you were
gosh.
missing out. And yeah, there's a whole lot of like that whole, deep state government conspiracy, the shadow government, whatever. There's a whole lot of that in there.
He's ended up fighting clones of himself. It gets crazy.
I don't remember.
Oh, man,
was that another
crazy
first-person shooter or no?
No, it wasn't. It was the
Solid
first
2 was.
No,
Metal Gear
Metal Gear Solid 2
when
wasn't
it
first person
swapped
shooter
where you
either,
could-
but that's where they
Was it
did
3
give you the
then?
option to do it. No. You could
it was
shoot
2.
in first person, but you had to switch into first person. It wasn't a first person shooter.
Then I can't
Does that make
remember-
sense?
You didn't have to really. I mean, they added that
Really, you
dimension in Metal Gear Solid 2 to make you have to look and like shoot weird things in the wall, if I remember.
Yeah, because in Metal Gear Solid you could switch to first person view, but you couldn't do anything. So I mean, there really wasn't much of a point.
Yeah,
to
you
it
could
other-
look
other than
around and
to
that.
just look
Okay,
around.
all right.
Because it was the first 3D iteration of the game, so like you could look around. There was stuff to look around at. But it was.
I think it was the hide and go seek aspect of Metal Gear
Yeah,
Solid.
it was tactical. It's billed as tactical espionage action, and basically the whole premise of the game was you have to avoid confrontation with
Detection.
the enemy. The entire point is you are a stealth operative, and it's funny. Funny enough, I actually watched a documentary about this on YouTube with regards to why that was the case, and really. The reason why the focus was on tactical espionage action was because it started Metal Gear, and I can't remember what system it was released on, but it was released on like the NES, the NES generation of systems, and they couldn't render they couldn't render a whole lot of stuff on the screen, right? So in order to make it challenging, they made it to where like you get shot once or twice and you die. So like you had to just avoid confrontation with the enemy at all costs.
And there's all these like crazy like other special agents and stuff you run into that have all these like crazy talents. You have to learn how to beat them, and so you'll die a lot at one guy when you fight one guy, and then you have to go back and find out how to beat him. It's a fun game, man. Metal Gear. You need to look into. Have you ever seen the Escape from New York or Escape from New York, Escape from L.A.? Those movies.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, that's Snake Plissken is the main character in those movies. Well, he's also the main character in Metal Gear.
Well,
Yeah.
no, not really. I mean,
Some
the
kind
name
of-
Snake came from that.
Yeah.
The name Snake
Well,
came
no,
from
Snake
that, and also the
Plissken
gravelly
is-
voice.
No, Snake Plissken is Metal Gear. That's his name. Snake Plissken.
No, his name is not Snake Plissken.
I thought it was just Snake.
It is. Look it up.
No, it's not. I'm telling you, it's not.
Am I wrong
Here,
here?
I will look it up.
Here we go.
I don't know.
What
I-
is Solid Snake's real name?
I'm trying to remember why I didn't play. Why I never played it. Because my
Solid Snake, real name David, also known as Old Snake, and briefly known as Iroquois Pliskin.
oh
There we go.
His real name
Iroquois.
is David. I'm assuming that's because it's a reference to the guy who voiced him, David Hayter. But his real name is David. It's not Snake. Snake is a code name.
Well, they look the same basically. They got an eye patch.
Oh,
It's basically the same
no,
person.
No. This is not true. Solid Snake does not have an eye patch. He had an eye patch like imaging device, but he actually never had the need for an eye patch. Now, Big Boss did. Big Boss did lose one of his eyes, and he did have an eye patch.
Ever
That's
wonder
Big
why
Boss.
Solid Snake is
That
called
Big
Solid
Boss
Snake? Blah, blah, blah.
and not Solid Snake. Two different people. Granted, Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss.
I'm sure.
But-
I'm sure there was like an. I'm sure there's enough similarities there that it could have been some kind of homage, but not
Well,
necessarily.
it is, and Kojima said so.
Oh, okay, so there you go.
The name came from the Snake Plissken character. The whole like, call me Snake.
yeah.
you know?
No, I got you.
Same with the fact that he had like a mullet and fucking looked all.
He looks
badass.
just like him.
Hey, oh my god!
I can't.
Whatever.
I'm trying
Anyway,
to.
the point is yes. The Snake name came from the fact that Kurt Russell's character in Escape from New York was named Snake Plissken. That's where he got the the inspiration for that. But anyway, that's irrelevant. We're going down like nerd avenue hardcore.
Well, that's this entire episode, so why not?
So let's change gears then.
Hold on, I'm just trying to remember why I never played that game though, because like that was usually the big like any first person shooter game was definitely off limits for me. I was just horrible at those fucking things. Like from the days of Doom, I just sucked at those. I could
Doom, and every Doom game I think I've played. Maybe not the new one, if there is a new one. But yeah, I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, but then again, also because I mean, you guys are talking about like all these different like a lot of these games I skipped over, and a lot of the consoles I skipped over too. Because again, once the economic reality of things set in for me, I ended up with my like, you know, my parents bought me my Atari, and then they finally bought me my first NES. I think almost 2 years after it came out, they finally decided to buy me one. Like the price had dropped enough for them at that point, because you know it was a one of a kind thing at the time. So the price point stayed pretty high for quite a while. But and then I think I bought the SNES I bought myself, and I held on to that thing for a while until I could finally afford my own PlayStation, and I've been in PlayStation land ever since. I never really liked the Xbox. Like some of the games are cool. The controller always pissed me off. Like whenever I played other people's Xboxes.
That fat controller, the first Xbox controller sucked.
I hated that thing.
So
I never went back.
They started shipping the Japanese version, and like everybody was like, "Why weren't these the original controllers?" And they were like, "Yeah, we'll fix it."
Well, because they were made for the smaller hands of the Japanese. We didn't think that you guys were going to need them too, you big fat Americans.
Yeah, fucking fatties.
Basic. So, all right. So, changing gears here. What game has taken the most amount of your life? If there's a pie
Fallout
chart.
4.
Fallout
4.
Final Fantasy 7. Not even a question.
Yes, Fallout 4 by far.
Okay,
the reason for this is twofold. But go on.
I have one World of Warcraft with 365 days played.
Oh man, that's savage.
Definitely more than me.
I have Counter-Strike. I don't want to like. I've played Counter-Strike longer than a lot of people have lived.
That's
I've been playing since I was
that's
15.
True, actually.
I've played a lot.
I'm 30.
I've played a lot of games. I mean, so
I
many.
haven't played this year, but I mean, I'll probably will, just because sometimes I need to hear that AK fire off. You know, I don't sleep well.
I'm only thinking of games that actually had counters on them that I can remember, and I know Final Fantasy VII. I've played through at least 4 times, and
yeah, I've played
each one of those. Each one of those 4 was at least, I think, 300 hours of gameplay. Because
I don't even want to know how much time I've spent on League of Legends or.
Yeah, but I've spent
Halo.
I've spent
any of that.
I've spent an exorbitant amount of time playing video games in my life, because if it wasn't that, it was always like, I mean, I've spent hours playing stupid app games on my phone.
Yeah,
I've got lost in that. That was like a couple of, I think I mentioned this to you guys a couple of like a month or so ago. I got myself all excited because I downloaded an NES emulator on my phone, which for some reason I didn't realize I could do before that. And I caught I finally
had one for a while.
I finally had to delete it because I caught myself starting to play games at at stoplights, and I was like, "This is not good." I'm literally trying to play a game while I'm at a light that I know is going to be.
I'm playing Kirby's Avalanche here, and there's a damn red light.
Well, no, I found there. I found baseball stars on this one emulator. The first emulator I got had baseball stars. I'm like, "Oh my god, I can play baseball stars! This is ridiculous." But then I quickly realized.
You felt like a little kid.
Yeah, but then I quickly realized that I was, because I had actually recently.
Isn't it crazy how video games have this crazy nostalgia behind them?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you started playing, I mean,
how even like time.
My first Atari, I was 5 years old.
You grew up playing them. They were an integral part of your childhood. You spent
or 6.
You spent hours and hours. You spent hours and hours
playing them,
immersed into them, and they became a part of who you were, part of your self-identity, right?
Yep.
That's why I spent so many fucking hours playing Fallout 4. Jesus.
See, I don't know, man. I kind of gave it up, man. I don't know why. I just repetitive strain injury, like kind of has kept me from playing League of Legends, and that's the game I really wanted to play. And I just, after playing for a little bit, my hands and everything hurt. I can't play, and it's just from my job and from doing it for so long. So I've just basically quit, man. I've started to read more, garden more, farm more, stuff like that.
You're so fucking lame.
Yeah, how dare
I am.
How dare you?
So
How dare you adult instead of playing video games?
Yeah, fucking garbage ass person.
I know, man.
Well-
I'm trying to get those shiny internet points.
Yeah, well, I told you guys, man. I'm trying to stop playing again after I finish playing Final Fantasy VIII. I need to take, because that's the thing. I get wrapped because I play games like that can be so involved. I end up and I lose myself in them very easily and can quickly spend a couple of hours without realizing it. If I'm here, at night without my kids and I'm just hanging out, and I don't have to be up for work super early. It's just like, oh, I could start playing, and the next thing I know, it's like 2:00 in the morning. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, how old are you? What are you fucking doing? So I have to step away. But I don't think I touched my PlayStation for like a year and a half, almost 2 years after my kids hit like 6 months old and were starting to be a lot more like, active and social and stuff like that. Like I put my controller away and I didn't touch it again for like almost 2 years. And I only started playing again at that point because I think I had ended up, for some reason, deciding it would be a good idea to buy the PS Move. And I started playing some of those games, but unfortunately,
Sweet, bro.
Unfortunately, the lighting in my house is horrible, so the camera doesn't pick up things very well. So it becomes more frustrating than not.
That thing's spying on you.
Which those controllers are actually, it's a very good thing that they have tethers on them, because those would have been through the wall multiple times.
Oh yeah, we had a Wii.
Getting mad.
You know the Wii, the Nintendo Wii, the little
Yep.
contraption they came out with.
Well,
Oh,
the
man.
Wii was better. That's what I wanted, but I refused to buy.
We broke a TV bowling one night. Oh,
I refused to, because the only time I had ever bought a system for one particular game, and now for the life of me, I can't remember what that fucking game was.
Metal Gear is the kind of game that happens for. You know what I'm saying? Like I contemplated buying a PlayStation 3 just to play, and then someone let me borrow their PlayStation so I could play it.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
I don't even remember.
Like-
I don't even remember what it was.
But I don't care about any other PlayStation game. All I want to do is play Metal Gear because they won't put all their stuff on every other console.
Well,
That's
yeah.
gonna go away though.
Well, I mean, you can do it now with emulators and stuff, but I bought the GameCube, and for the life of me, I still can't remember what fucking game it was I bought the goddamn GameCube for.
Wow.
But I
Super Mario Sunshine. Hopefully,
No, I don't remember which one.
that was a fun game.
It might have been I think they ended up didn't Nintendo have
now
Resident Evil?
4 was on that now.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, they had it,
4.
and that was before
And that
PlayStation.
was it. It was fun.
Yeah, before PlayStation was finally able to get a hold of the Resident Evil series. That was the only place you could play it, and I was like, I have to play this fucking game because I saw it. I'm like, this looks fucking amazing. I have to play this game. So yeah, I went out and bought it for that, and then it just sat there. So I swore I was never going to do that again. So I didn't get the Wii, even though I wanted it, because I played that at people's houses. I'm like, this is fun. I could get into this. I could get high and play these fucking games all night long. But I refused to do it. So I ended up biting the bullet and finally buying the Move, which is the PlayStation Move, which is not as much fun. Some of the games are cool, but you had to do so many.
I don't know what it would take for me to buy a console, but they did just come out with this Super Nintendo or HD or small. It's like a smaller version or whatever.
The classic, the one that came.
Yeah, the new one.
Well,
they just
the
came
Switch?
out like this. No,
The
it's
Switch.
just this month.
No. They came out with. They did this last year. They came out with they called. I don't think it was.
No, it's a remake of the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but it's a miniature one, right?
Okay. I know. What
It's a miniature one, right?
Yes, SNES Classic. That's what
Yeah,
it's
the
called,
classic.
I think.
Yeah, they came out with the NES Classic last year and pissed off a whole bunch of people by not making nearly enough of them, and then quickly pulled it off the market altogether without. And then finally a month or two later, they finally announced that they did that because they're now going to be rolling out the SNES one. Yeah, that looked interesting
which
too.
they're, I'm assuming, going to make quite a number
Yeah.
more of them.
You would think so because they lost out on so much money.
$79.99.
So many people wanted that thing. I probably would have actually bought the NES one.
Well, it's got a Star Fox 2, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, F-Zero, Mario Kart, and Zelda with it, and more. Comes with those many games.
I don't know. I was talking to some people the other day, and I actually almost convinced myself to
Super
buy
Metroid. Yeah, that's worth a buy.
a PS4 just because they're not making the Assassin's Creed game for PS3 anymore, which makes me sad because that's my other favorite series that I got into. I skipped over the first one. I jumped into the second one, and I fell in love with just the idea of the game. And I've played every one of those since. So when I found out they weren't going to be making those anymore, I was like, oh, really? I don't want to buy another system. I'm too old to be buying systems. My kids are still too young. Like they've played with the Move once or twice, and they're kind of like, whatever. So I can't really justify buying another video game system at this point. So that's why
I can't imagine even a VR one. I have no interest in any of it.
Yeah, I mean the VR would be cool, but that'd have to be something that I had like literally a bunch of money to play with and nothing else to do with for me to actually spend money on that for myself. I'm still rocking the PS3 because I think I got this as a Christmas present, years ago whenever it first came out. So that's why I still have it. Like I didn't even buy this one. It was just like I still have it. Like whoever I was dating at the time bought it for me. And I'll stick to that. That's why I still play a lot of the old games because when I have a little bit of money, it's just easier to go on the PlayStation Network and buy it.
These new games they feel rushed. Every one of them I play, they just feel rushed.
Yeah, I mean even I like the Assassin's Creed games, but even like the past few ones, they're all basically the same type of story, and a lot of they haven't changed much with the gameplay. But for me, again, it's that comfort thing and being able to get lost in that character. Because I don't know if you guys have played any of those ones, but
yes,
yeah, the different characters they have. Although I was telling somebody the other day, weirdly enough, I actually had the most fun with the storyline of the last one that I played, which was Rogue, where the guy actually turned against the assassins. It's like, I'm a contrarian. You're supposed to want to be, the whole reason I got into it originally because it was the whole Ezio storyline. It's like, oh, this is a cool, the historical aspect.
Fable?
Yes.
I tried playing
I love the shit out of the first 3 Fables.
I didn't play the second or third one, but I did play the first one. It was
the
fun.
second one was pretty damn good, I gotta say. Story-wise, very engaging. I love the mechanics of the game. Third one, also very engaging story-wise. Mechanics-wise, it was as good as the second. I wouldn't say it was an improvement gameplay-wise. The story was good. They had a whole section of moral decisions towards the end of the third game, which honestly didn't. They didn't really have any bearing on anything because if you had enough money, you could just obviate all of the hardship choices you would have to make. You wouldn't actually have to sacrifice anything because you could just pay your way through it. And if you've played the Fable games, you know that you can easily break the market system in there.
Yeah, I remember.
But no, 2 and 3 were good. 2 and 3 were good.
Yeah, I think I had a buddy who was into that. I played it once or twice and never had it myself. So
I just think that's going to be like a really cool. Like they'll probably have a VR Fable or something like that, like an MMO Fable that's VR. I could see that. I was just thinking of like certain video games that I could see on the horizon.
Oh yeah,
because I don't know, man. Like where's the next big thing coming? Like obviously it's going to be VR, but like what in VR?
Probably more immersive environments because we've already got it to where we can port games that already exist into VR.
Like racing games that like where you feel like you're in the game. In the car.
Well, I mean, actually, you know what? Interestingly enough, you can achieve part of that effect or like a partial sense of that through the use of visual cues. Like you can trick your brain into it thinking that your equilibrium's off because you're in turns or whatever. That's why people experience motion sickness sometimes when they're in virtual reality, right? Because they don't have like they don't necessarily have a solid frame of reference, so it disorients them, right? So it's possible to do that, just visually. But I wonder if there wouldn't be a way to add like more tactile sensations.
Yeah.
Like
that'd
for
be-
example,
telling what it's gonna be.
having gloves. Like having gloves, what I think would be the first step. So not just controllers, but actual like gloves that provide tactile feedback. So like when you go to pick something up, it's not pressing a button, you're actually picking something up.
Yeah.
So like the glove is like fighting your hand, making it feel like there's something in your hand. That would be
Yeah,
wild.
well, I'm sure you could
That would
simulate
be
pressure
wild,
on your
Andre.
fingertips with electrical impulses, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
No, the glove could be mechanical, and it could just
Yeah, or
whatever- it
something
could-
similar to like that, where it has resistance based on data that's being fed to it by the game. I mean, we already have the
Yeah.
technology to make this wireless, so we don't have to have like a wired harness
Exactly.
anymore, right?
We're just a hop, skip, and a jump from like IRL Iron Man.
We're really not that far off. We already have fighting robots, but that's going to be a separate discussion. I want to stay on games.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not drift too far ahead.
I want to
It's
pose a
really
question.
never
Oh,
been a good superhero game.
No,
Either
not
way.
really. I do want to pose a question to you guys. Do you guys like? Because I know Jeremy likes RPGs, and Dave, you're not necessarily as much of a fan. But do you like games where there's a lot of world building involved, where it's very like open world sandbox type games?
I don't think I've played
Those
enough of
games,
them.
they interest me. Like, are you talking about like Minecraft and like to some extent like
not even necessarily
um,
Minecraft. Like for example,
Grand
and the
Theft
reason-
Auto stuff
the
like
reason,
that?
yes, yeah, like Grand Theft Auto, Fallout 4,
Those games
Skyrim.
are fun to me for about 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, honestly, like I don't have much fun. I'm just like, okay, what's the point? I can't really. To me, it's like a competition. If I can't have a competition with the game, I don't really want to play it unless it's a platformer. And so like the RPG, like even World of Warcraft, it was kind of a competition to me. Like I was always kind of in the best, thing or whatever when I involved myself with World of Warcraft. So like if there's a way to make the a competition, that's what attracts me mostly.
Oh.
See, I can't say the same. What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, see, my like I was saying earlier about not necessarily liking to play any of the online games with other people because I like I always like playing sports games with other people, but like most of the other games I play are solo or one player games for a reason because I like to immerse myself and like Grand Theft Auto, I loved all those. Like I think I might have skipped one of them, but for the most part, I think I played most of them, and I loved all those because the competition aspect for me is against myself trying to get like the 100% completion, so games like that have that type of setup that it's an open world thing that you can continue playing or whatever, but there are certain goals that you try to reach for yourself. Yeah, man, I'm all about that shit. I haven't played enough of them. Like I played the Grand Theft Auto series, but a lot of those other games like that I never got around to playing. But I do like being able to the open worldness and being able to do more.
I mean, I grew up with a bunch of neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood. Every game we'd put in was a competition. I can beat this Mario level faster than you. I can do this. I can beat you at GoldenEye. I can do this.
You're such a fucking pleb. You're such a fucking pleb, Dave.
That's
See,
just all-
we
it's-
never
I guess it
did
was just
that, man. We played like sport. We always had to like if we were playing games together, like my friends and I. It was always game. It was always like if it was competition, it was usually like a sport or something like that. Whatever.
Well,
whatever
now
was-
don't get me wrong. I played my fair share of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and we used to beat the shit out of each other in that game. That was a lot of fun. That was. I don't know. I've always been, part of this, I guess, stems from the fact that I'm very. I mean, I hate to say this and make myself sound like an arrogant, self-involved asshole, but like I'm extremely creative. Like I want to build things. One of my favorite things about storytelling is world building. I don't want to write fan fiction. I want to create my world from the ground up in very intricate detail. And I really, really, really enjoy games where I get the chance to do that. Like, for example, I love SimCity. I love SimCity because you literally get to build a virtual world from the ground up. Same reason I like The Sims. I don't like The Sims because I care about what my Sims do. I don't give a shit about them. Half the time I light them on fire or do all sorts of other unholy things to them. But I love being able to sit there and
you were a big
design
fan of the Civ
house.
games.
you know what? I never, ever had a computer that would run the Civ games when they were out. Not ever. Every time a civilization, like by the time I became aware of Sid Meier's Civilization, the ones that were out were well beyond the capability of my computer to ever run them. And like I didn't want to go back and play the old ones because like I was too, I was too like, oh my god, I want to play the new ones. And at that point in my life, I was like, I don't want to go back and play the old games. Now I think I'll actually go back and load some of the old Civilization games because I can. But yeah, I think I will actually. Thank you for bringing that up because I had that thought months ago.
What's the most libertarian video game of all time? What do you guys
Fallout 4.
think?
Definitely Fallout 4.
You think Fallout 4?
It's post-state, man. There's no fucking state anymore. Hey.
I think it's got to be Road Rash 64. 100%.
Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Oh, fucking savage.
I don't even know, man. I have, like I said,
Terminator.
I haven't
3D.
played.
Oh, my God. No. God, no.
I haven't played nearly enough games.
I really think number one, the Fallout series has going for it the fact that it is a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So there is, the only governments that there are ones that are like raggedly put together by like a couple of, petty small dictators that have like almost zero influence or range on anything. The only exception to that so far in the game world was the New California Republic, the NCR. In the game world, that's the only organization short of the Enclave, which is like the shadow government from before the war that somehow managed to survive in a space station in space or on an oil platform in the Pacific.
I'm gonna go with Indiana Jones. That's my final answer. There's a Super Nintendo game that's in Indiana Jones, and that's got to be it.
Indiana Jones is pretty much a boss.
As long as you're not talking about the fourth movie, we're going to be in agreement.
Which was the fourth one? I don't even remember now.
Oh, the Crystal Skull one.
Oh,
it's not worth watching.
Was that the Shia LaBeouf one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He said it proper, not LaBeouf.
I didn't sit through that one. I couldn't. Because again, I'm old enough to remember the originals coming out. I think was it? Yeah.
And how good they were, and how shite. Wasn't the first one like the fourth one was
82, 83 somewhere, or was it even earlier than that? I don't remember now.
I don't know, but those are some of the best movies of all time.
Yes,
the first three,
first two maybe. Third one was all right.
Because we mentioned Fable.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to know this. I want to know this. In games like Grand Theft Auto and Fable and whatever, how many of you guys went on like just a massacre killing spree of just like literally everybody and played just like an absolute evil
every time.
Character?
Every time.
Yeah.
No, okay. Like games, for example, where there's like moral choices for like such as Fable. Did you enjoy playing?
I did that. Well, I played it. I think I played Fable twice. I played Fable all the way through being like as nice and doing obviously as everything it wanted me to do in like the good side, just to see what would happen. And then let me phrase it another way. And I was like, holy shit,
let me phrase it. Yeah, let me phrase it another way. What's your default position when you have those types of choices? Do you normally default to like? Well. Do you normally default to decisions that you would?
So.
Oh my, Dave! Damn it, Dave! Damn it, Dave! You're killing this conversation.
He's going to ruin every point you try to bring up.
You son of a bitch!
Well, I'll answer then.
Okay, so let me pose the question to you, because I guess it doesn't matter for Dave. Fair enough. Everybody has their own playstyle. But Jeremy, when you have games where you're presented with moral choices or like choices that have some aspect of morality to them? Do you normally, is your default the same in real life as it is in video games, or do you like make different choices in video games just cause?
Probably, I probably make different choices in video games. Although,
is there a buck knife involved?
Funny, Dave.
With a reporter,
yeah.
Only with reporters though.
It's more a knife, Dave. Is a more a knife.
I'm trying to get buck knife to be a Jeremy's meme. Like Hop's got.
I noticed. I've seen the tagging recently, Dave. I've noticed. Well, no, because it's weird because like when usually in those games where it has those situations where those like any type of moral question that you're going to have to, like, a choice that you're going to have to make. I kind of what Dave said is part of it for me, because, I normally look at those as, okay, what do they want me to say here? And what's it going to net me? And if, especially like I said, most of my games like that are about, for me, it's about the competition with myself to try to get like the 100% completion or whatever. It's like, okay, if I make this choice, I may not actually get to have that. So I'm going to make that choice. But I've often, in those very same games, gone back and played it a second go through to get the satisfaction of making the immoral choice and having somebody killed or leaving somebody behind or whatever it is. But I, in my regular life, I try to make the more moral choices because I know I don't get that second opportunity.
Yeah. Obviously, you're in a fantasy world when you're playing the video game, and this is, whether it's a simulation or not, this is, has repercussions that aren't like a video game that you can just turn off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. The reason I ask is because I found over time, because I mean, I do the same thing. Like after my first playthrough, I do the same thing that you do, Dave, and I just like go and try and play through it like the complete opposite of my first playthrough, just to like get the whole experience. But my default position, even in games where like there's endless moral ambiguity, such as the Fallout series or, Mass Effect, where it's not necessarily like you're not necessarily penalized for being an arrogant, douchey son of a bitch who's just like a pissant who doesn't give a fuck about people and property, right?
Isn't there a lot of that in Final Fantasy IX? I can't remember.
Well, I mean, I have my own opinions about Final Fantasy. I have my own opinions about Final Fantasy X. But, however, the point I was making was I automatically default to the same principles that govern my behavior in the real world. So, like in Fallout 4, I don't go out of my way to just take stuff from people. Like my entire first playthrough, I never used pickpocket, and I never like unlocked or broke into somebody's house or somebody's safe or whatever that was owned. Now, like the ones you find around the wasteland or whatever, there's lying around. I break into those all the time. But like if it's in somebody's house or in somebody's like on someone's property, I don't do anything that violates people's property rights in these games unless they initiate aggression towards me. So like even in like a post-apocalyptic wasteland where like right and wrong are like super relative things for most people, I don't go out of my way to hurt people. I really don't. And I don't like being put in a position where I might have to. Or like I accidentally hit somebody because I'm trying to shoot somebody. No, I have not. And I actually feel kind of bad about that because I heard it's a fantastic game.
It's fun, yeah. Yeah, it's fun. You just like walk into town and just shoot everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you could do that in Grand Theft Auto, and at a certain point of playing like the Grand Theft Auto games, eventually you're just like, you know what, fuck it, let's crank it up to 5 stars and get me a tank, Yeah.
Well, yeah.
When you start dropping tanks on people and stuff, it's crazy.
Well, that's usually why I did that. If I went on those rampages, it was just to get to see how good I could get.
That's what destroys those games for me. Like if no one told me the cheat codes, then I would probably enjoy those games a lot more, because the minute I find a cheat code, I use it. Like
you could choose not to, right? Like it's a choice. But then, it's not involuntary.
Then I can't drive a tank around and just
you can.
Everything.
Oh no, you can.
Yeah,
it's going to require a lot more effort.
Well, yeah,
and a lot more skill, but you can totally do it. It's possible. It is totally doable. I promise.
Effort, skill. I'm playing against the game though. I'm like,
well,
I don't know. I think I beat the first Grand Theft Auto.
You used to want to do Counter-Strike competitively. Come on.
Yeah, that's different. You're playing against people.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get what you're coming from, but I understand what you're talking about, though, Andre. Because I have a similar view to you.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I use the shit out of cheat codes too. But like, I do give the game an honest shake first before I start like fucking everything up like a
I don't think I've ever
chessboard.
cheated in Counter-Strike, even back in the day when it was blatantly easy to. Maybe I did. Maybe I did back like 9 years ago, 10
You
years
fucking
ago.
aimbot hacksaw piece of shit.
I know, maybe I don't.
Aimbots, bro. Wall
I can't
hacks.
remember, but I've Counter Strike is such a weird game, guys. Like it's such a the community is so weird. They're all hateful.
Sounds
They
like
are.
lots- sounds like lots of
They're
fun.
super.
It's just a
Super
bunch
hateful.
of people like me that are just hateful of everybody.
At least most of the people on Counter Strike now are like semi-adults, though. Like you very rarely you're going to run into 12-year-olds playing it anymore. That's mostly like almost
Well,
exclusively.
yeah, it's out of their
consoles now.
skill level.
Yeah, so at least now you don't have to worry about like fucking 13-year-old little shitheads talking smack about your mom or whatever. Now it's mostly like
That was half
25
of
to
my
30
game.
crowd.
Talking
20,
shit.
25 to 30 crowd talking shit about your mom.
I was just gonna say, still
Oh,
talking
yeah.
shit about your mom.
Talking trash is half my game. That was why I'm so good at Halo, man. I could talk trash. Somebody be right in the same room with me, I could talk trash.
Well, okay, yeah, but to be fair, the difference now is like when somebody says, "Hey, man, my mom died of cancer," that might actually be true. That there's a much more likelihood
Yeah, and then
of that being.
I would
being
say, well,
absolutely
where's she at? Let's go dig her up. Just I mean, you have to just fire back.
Note
That's
to-
how
note to
that's how
self.
it works.
Note to self: never play games with Dave. Well, the one thing I wanted to say though on what you were talking about, Andre, is actually as you were talking about that, especially when you mentioned the pickpocketing thing. I actually realized maybe I did subconsciously do some of that because I was just remembering the one game that skill is used predominantly and that I play is the Assassin's Creed series, and I realized that as I was listening to the last couple of games that I played, I would only use that if I was trying to steal from like the guards of whatever
Yeah,
government I was
exactly.
dealing. I wouldn't steal from the common folk anymore, and I never even thought of it. But as you were talking about, I'm like, wait a minute. I remember the last couple of
Robin
games I
Hood.
played, I totally only would rob from the guards and stuff. I would never rob from normal
That would
people.
be a badass game. An Assassin's Creed Robin Hood game. That would be badass.
It depends. Is he a flaming socialist
Depends
or is
as
he
a
like
diaper.
the actual Robin Hood?
Oh, what? Oh, the actual Robin Hood, like of Loxley, buddy, of Loxley.
Yeah, so like rob from the government to give back to the people that were stolen from.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
make it happen.
I
people.
mean, if you technically want,
This whole robbing the rich
so-
to pay the poor is
was the
not
king out of line?
accurate.
Yes, but was he within his authority? Yes. It's a double quandary.
Yeah, let's not go down that path. We should probably get wrapping up before we get sucked into that rabbit hole.
I mean, we're going on paper here, not what I believe.
All right. Well, on that note,
All right.
This has been fun. I'm glad we did this, and for everybody listening, thank you for indulging our desire to just do a show about ourselves and throw throw liberty essentially out the window.
Maybe you
But
throw
we
a
dragged it
warning
back
on
in
this
anyway. Nah, whatever, man. It's whatever. It doesn't always have to be about liberty per se, but we still talked about it anyway, and Andre managed to keep us on point with that with a lot of things too. So it worked out well, and
Hey, actually having the time preferences and the time, the ability to even sit around and play video games is, all due to people pushing towards freedom and, more voluntary trade to get to this level of, abundance with scarce resources to allow people to have time to do stuff like this. So,
Private property, man. It makes the world go round. It does.
here.
mm-hmm.
Thanks be to capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hell yes. All right.
All right. On that note, we will get wrapping up. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you.
Yes. All of our listeners, everybody who follows us, thank you again. 1,000 times thank you for supporting the show. We couldn't do it without you. I mean, we could, but it really would not be anywhere near the kind of show that it is now. So thank you 1,000 times. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, and yeah, especially the Patreon subscribers. You guys rock. And as promised, we are nearing the end of the month, and once that hits, I'm going to start rolling out a whole bunch of Patreon episodes that we've had backlogged. And you guys,
It's already September.
You guys at the end of the month. No, I said it's now it's September.
Yeah.
At the end of this month is when my business shuts down. So I promised once that happens, I'll have a little more free time and I will start to crank out.
So at the end of next January, in other words,
I'm not Danilo, who, by the way, I love that guy. I listened to the new episode he put out yesterday, like 2 days ago. It was an interview he did with Nick Hazelton from last October. That's
nice.
how far behind he is.
Wow.
He's almost fully a year behind now at this point. That crazy motherfucker.
I love it. I love it.
All right.
Danilo.
Anyway,
get your act together, buddy.
He's a mess, man. He's a mess. But all right. So thank you everybody for listening. All of our information can be found at the Seeds of Liberty Jesus Christmas. What the hell is it now? SOLpodcast.org. Yeah, SOLpodcast.org.
Yeah, I believe so.
Is where all
And
our stuff.
Seeds of Liberty podcast.com.
Stop confusing people. Let's just use the SOL one. We picked that one because it was short. SOLpodcast.org.
SOLpodcast.org.
Thank you. That's where all our information can be at. And we will catch you next time. Peace.
And nudes of Andre.
Yes.
Seeds of Liberty. 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 Seeds of Liberty.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's Antiwar.com. This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, go with AgoristHosting.com.